Hi and Happy New Year. I felt called to do this video titled 2021, the final battle for freedom of speech. If you follow me, you know that I like to create my reality, have fun here in Bali, do my practices and be with beautiful heart-centered people. And I definitely encourage everyone to keep doing this. But for this video, I wanted to get a little bit more serious. Because I deeply believe that 2021 this year is an acceleration of what has been started already in 2020, and we'll see the final battle for freedom of speech, a split in timelines, if you wish, between a very bright and a very dark one. And I'll get back into this. To start with, I know a lot of the people who follow me are quite spiritual, or let's say connected by nature, and know that there are way more than this physical body in this specific incarnation. Well, keeping that in mind is very important to add some centeredness and groundedness and distance also to all the things that are happening in this time and place of existence. It is, in my opinion, also important to acknowledge that we here are together in a similar incarnation, a same version of us at the same time, co-creating together. And this is why we incarnate. It's to take action here in this physical world and not spiritually bypass those challenges. So, what I encourage people to do, and what I have done for myself at least, is obviously to double down on my spiritual practice with 3-4 hours a day, because in a world that's changing so fast and with a lot of polarities, you want to double down on these practices to keep your centeredness, to be, if you wish, in the eye of the storm. That's what Bashar talks about. He talked about it in 2019, saying 2020 would be crazy. You don't want to be caught by the storm in the panic, like so many people are. You don't want to escape either. You want to be still in the eye of the storm, centered and calm but aware, and taking the right actions. So, we want to stay in that connection and avoid the fear and the panic for sure. But we also want to stay aware of what's going on and not be too naive, because we are asked to take the right actions to manifest the timeline we want, and these things are currently accelerating very fast. So what I'm doing for myself is a lot of spiritual practices, while at the same time speaking my truth as I'm doing now and taking the actions to make sure I manifest the right timeline. Let me clarify what I mean about that fork in timelines that is accelerating at the moment. One of them is very bright, and one of them is very dark. And of course, there are an infinity of different possibilities, but I keep the extremes here to make it more simple in a way. The scenario I am not having a preference for is, that's why I say dark in my opinion, it's subjective, is a more robot-like existence. Keep going towards alienation of humans, of our planet and animals, and seeing everything and everyone as a means of production, a cog in a machine. So we have undeniably done it already a lot with nature, with animals that we have enslaved and we're torturing on a mass scale, with indigenous populations, and I would say with most of our Western world too. I think humans are very dehumanized by society and very enslaved already. But on that timeline, it goes to the next level where really you are denied your basic freedoms. And I think the basic freedom is the freedom of speech, because if people control your mind, then it's easy to control everything else. We can see it at the moment. If people are in fear, they will accept not to be able to travel, not to be able to work, not to be able to even leave their home. And at the same time, the other timeline we're seeing is so many people awakening, because every challenge is an opportunity. We're manifesting also these challenges for our own awakening. And for me, it's been a beautiful motivation. And I see so many people around the world taking back their freedom, speaking up, looking at being more empowered. And in that timeline of existence, people remember the beauty of being humans, the beauty of life, the beauty of nature, of animals, of being in harmony. And in that timeline, we love technology because technology helps us. It's beautiful. But we put it in its own place, which is serving the well-being of ourselves and all beings and our planet, which means slowing down and integrating and keeping our discernment on what is right versus what is, yes, maybe good for production, but not good for our overall well-being. And through that awakening, I believe we can gradually go towards people who are very empowered, who take their freedom, ownership of their freedom, and also live more and more from the heart. So these are the timelines we're seeing, and I think at the moment I felt called to talk about freedom of speech because it starts in our minds, guys. It starts in our minds, and then that will, and with our actions. And at the moment, fighting for, at least promoting freedom of speech is very important. And I felt called to do that transmission today because I've been a bit away, not really looking at the news. You know, I don't watch much the news because it can bring my vibe down. But I want to stay aware, be informed, while at the same time keeping my vibe high. So I felt called to do this today because I looked into what's happening in the USA, and it became very clear to me that there are a lot of frauds on the elections, and that President Trump is talking a lot about that, and that there's a lot of polarities around this. And I don't want to get into the details of that, and people can think what they want, because we're in a world where it's hard to know what to believe, and where we get into vacuums where we're fed the things we believe already anyway. But I think whatever you believe, you want to draw a line in the sand at freedom of speech. And so, for the people who have educated themselves, we know already that among the most powerful people on earth are the people who control the tech giant, those social media platforms. More than the people you vote for. They are more powerful because they control our minds. But this has been taken to a next level now that the president of the US is banned on Twitter and then goes to another platform, Parler, that just got banned from Google and is probably going to get banned from Apple also. And so we're in that 1984 scenario where it becomes really, really, really hard to share your voice if you're not in those systems. And I think everybody, even if you hate Trump, should agree with that we need to defend that freedom of speech, and it's not normal that tech giants control what can be said and what cannot be said. No one has voted for them. This is not the democratic principles we have agreed to and our ancestors have fought for. So, if you don't like Trump and you rejoice from him being unable to communicate, because it's already been a lot the case in mainstream medias in the US, but now it's also the case on social media that used to be thought as a place for greater freedom. It's not anymore, at least for the ones that practice censorship. Well, even if you rejoice from that now, be very careful, because it will happen to you at some point if you support this. So there is a saying I like, is I disagree with what you're saying, but I will fight for your right to say it. And this is very important, because then when it comes your turn, no one will be there to defend you. So it's important to think in advance where you want to draw the line in the sand. And I believe it's around freedom of speech. Now, if you're aware of that and you don't do anything, keep in mind that things are accelerating. And that's why I wanted to stress a bit of urgency in this message, because things are going very fast. So if you're a little bit lazy to speak your voice, to tell your friends, to yourself, maybe start moving away from old systems to new decentralized systems that respect basic freedoms. Well, I would encourage you, and myself at the same time, to do that shift with discernment, meaning wanting to do that shift while at the same time not shooting yourself in the foot. This is why I keep communicating on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. It's because it serves no one if no one can listen to me, I think. And it's the same with you. So with discernment, find how you can transition to something that is aligned with your values and at the same time are going to serve the delivery of your message. So I encourage people to take action and to be not in denial or being naive, and stay aware and take the right actions while being relaxed, while being centered, while keeping your vibe high. And the last part of this message is about solutions, because I am optimistic. I can see the awakening happening. I can see the new tools we have available to us now. And with a good discerning mind that more and more people have, we can switch more quickly to those new tools too, and not be too shattered by all the mess that's around. Some of those solutions, I believe, to start with, are, as I said, to double down on your spiritual practice, to stay high vibe, to do your yoga and your meditation, to have a discerning mind. I'm also using my Healy a lot. It sends specific frequencies to assist me. Use the tools that work for you to stay high vibe and to not be off center. But at the same time, look into what are the tools in our world, because we're here in a body incarnated on this planet Earth. What are the tools we can start using? We can stop using Google and use DuckDuckGo. We can stop using Gmail and use ProtonMail. We can slowly look for better social media that respect privacy and don't censor. Look for a physical community. Like here in Bali, we're so blessed. You know, we have most people I know in Bali, they know what's going on with banks and pharmaceutical companies and the media trying to control us for their own benefits and making more and more profits. We know. People know. More and more people know. So have a community like this of supportive, heart-centered people. But then there's one thing I became quite passionate about too that I want to talk about, which is cryptocurrencies and the blockchain. I don't really believe in just going back to nature and live the good old way. We're in a path of evolution. Technology is beautiful. We want technologies that empower us. So I got more into cryptocurrencies and blockchain in the past few weeks. And if you have also and invested in it, you have been highly rewarded because they are skyrocketing. And I think this is very exciting because this is the technological foundation of the new earth. It is not just about replacing money. It's about creating decentralized internets, decentralized YouTubes to actually take back our power. Even if you're not a tech geek, I'm not either, it's important to just look into it. And the last thing I put together a few months ago, but I will keep using it, a newsletter called New Earth Systems, and it's exactly in that vibe. You can educate yourself on what's going on in the world. With the internet today, we're so blessed, you have no excuse. If you don't know, it's because you didn't want to know. what's happening. It doesn't mean what's happening needs to bring your vibe down, but know and do the practice and stay high vibe. So if you join that, I also talk about solutions, and I know so many people who watch that might be way more advanced than me on what would be the right tools to use now to create a more conscious, heart-centered governance and planet. So please reach out with your solutions. I'm all about co-creations. I have my podcast too, where I share the messages of other light leaders, I call them. It's called the Light Leaders. So I'll put a link to the newsletter in the comments. But please also message me or put in the comments if you have solutions that you feel are going to be helpful in that direction. I'm very grateful for you tuning into this message, and I want to thank you for your attention, but most importantly, for taking the right actions. I hope this will be a motivation for you as well as for me, because I could always do better. Please feel into this message and feel into your own truth. There's a lot of noise. Feel what resonates and have the courage to take the right actions. The world needs your discernment, your understanding and truth, and your voice. Peace.